And here's the question. And I've shared with you, I don't know how many of you have had an opportunity to read the book, You'll Get Through This by Max Lucado. It's a great book. I encourage you to read it. A majority of what we're touching on this morning comes from a chapter of that book that was just powerful for me in my life. And I hope it's powerful for you in your life this morning as well. Some of the thoughts that he shared, I'm trying to take them and understand them in my life and then kind of play them back to you in some ways. But the question that I want us to just really ask out loud this morning is God good when life isn't? And let me share with you, about a year and a half ago, although I always get myself in trouble when I say, oh, it was about a year and a half ago, and Carrie goes, no, that was like 7 years ago. I lose track of time. But I'm sure about this one. It wasn't 7 years ago. I'm sure about that. We were visiting over at Clark and Maggie's house one evening, and we were down in the basement just kind of hanging out, watching TV. And Cameron, who, you were 3 years old when that happened? Oh, it was 3 years ago. Thank you. Thank you, other Hyde girl. I appreciate that. All right. So 3 years ago, we were I lose track. We were visiting over at Clark and Maggie's place, and we were down in the basement just kind of hanging out, watching TV and visiting for a while. And Cameron, who has a hard time sitting still at all, has an exercise ball. You know, those big ball things that I don't know what is it? A bouncy ball, yeah, but it's a big one. I don't think it's meant to, like, you're not supposed to play, you're supposed to do exercise on it or something. So she has this thing, and she's bouncing on it, you know, and Cameron has a little bit of daredevil in her, and she comes by it a little bit honestly, so it's pretty awesome. I get thrilled by it, except when things go bad, and things went bad that night. She's bouncing on this bouncy ball, and all of a sudden, she's really getting momentum. I mean, she is just hammering this thing. She's like, hey, look at this! And she'd hit the ball, and I mean, her rear end's like here, and I'm like, wow, that's cool, until she came down, and the ball wasn't there. And she hits, and instantly rolls over onto her stomach and begins just screaming in pain. Her hand goes to her back, and she couldn't move her legs for a moment. And all I could remember was just, oh my gosh. And you know, you pause for a moment and go, okay, I can't grab her up. I want to. I shouldn't do that. I can't do that. This might be a back injury. This is not good. And I just remember these big tears rolling down her face. And I can remember Carrie and I were down on the ground, you know, just right in her face, saying, okay, honey, it's okay. We call the ambulance because we were just afraid to move her because it was just that scary, where she wasn't moving her legs at all, laying on her stomach, not moving her legs. The ambulance comes over, the EMTs come over, and they decide, based on the situation, they're not turning her onto her back. They're going to leave her on her stomach. They're that cautious about things. They touched her leg and asked her if she could feel it, and she could not at that moment. They slide the backboard kind of underneath her, keep her face down, and they transport her to the hospital, kind of face down on the backboard. They got her to the hospital. I can't look at you while I tell the story. They did her to the hospital, and they decided, hey, we have to get her onto her back. They did it right, and kept her, you know, immobilized and kind of turned her. And X-rays and the doctors in and MRI and all this kind of stuff, and they come to find out there was no significant injury. It was probably just more kind of a quick compression on the nerve. It swole up a little bit. That's why everything was kind of numb and couldn't move. Got the swelling down. It was fine. We were there pretty late into the evening that evening. And I couldn't remember, just like it was yesterday, driving home late and looking in the rearview mirror and seeing Cameron falling asleep in the seat behind me. And I just remember whispering, God, you are so good. Thank you. But what if Cameron had been hurt worse? What if that injury